our next two speakers will be my fellow hearing officers tonight. First will be Mike Marron, the Vermilion County Board Chair. Mike has served as the chairman of the Vermilion County Board since 2014. Under his leadership, Vermilion County has endorsed the Vermilion County 2025 Strategic Plan, which recognizes the importance of the Middle Fork as a recreational destination and regional economic asset. Next will be Mayor Scott Eisenhower, the Mayor of Danville. He served as the Mayor of Danville since 2003. A key part of his agenda focuses on economic development as well as creating an improved quality of life for Danville residents. A new riverfront plan connecting downtown Danville with the Vermilion River is taking shape under his leadership. So Chairman Marron and Mayor Eisenhower will speak on their own perspectives of the local and regional economic and recreational importance of the Middle Fork. Chairman?
Thank you, Senator. Thank you, everybody, for being here tonight. I'd like to start with talking about the Vermilion County 2025 plan. When I became the chairman of the county board about 3.5 years ago, it coincided with a new group of board members coming on that were really enthusiastic, and we wanted to do something special. We wanted to try to really help kickstart things in Vermilion County and make county government more relevant to the citizens of the county. So we started out by doing just a basic analysis of the things that are really, really good in Vermilion County, our strengths, and then also the things that are our weaknesses. And we went out and we gathered a lot of public input from all corners of the county, from Rankin to Ridge Farm to Allerton to Hoopston, inside the city, and we compiled all this information and we went through it. And the reason why it's relevant to the discussion tonight was because there was a common thread. And one of those common threads in the strengths of the county was our natural resources. The parks, Kickapoo, Kennecott, the Middle Fork River, the North Fork River, the recreational opportunities that those entities present to the county. And so we started doing some creative thinking because, you know, we've had our challenges here in this community over the last quarter century, 30 years or so. And we thought about how could we really redefine ourselves? And we thought that there may be a significant opportunity to redefine ourselves as a destination for people to come. And we're already doing a great job of that, but could we really, really push that economic envelope and become competitive with places like the Wisconsin Dells or with the Galena Territory? Could we be a place where somebody in Naperville, when they're trying to make a decision where they're going to spend their weekend, they would say, I want to go to Vermilion County, I want to hang out at Kickapoo, I want to hang out at Kennecott. We thought there was some really, really good opportunities there. And definitely it's something that is working very well economically for the county now, but the potential there is limitless. And so, in addition to that, you've got the Kickapoo Rail Trail that is going to be a pipeline of economic activity from Champaign-Urbana right into our parks, right into possibly downtown Danville. Hopefully someday that trail will connect all the way from Urbana, all the way through Kickapoo, all the way to Kennecott. And I think maybe you've heard in the news, for those of you who are local, the prospect of building the education center out at Kennecott and getting that project fixed, which could be another great opportunity for us. So there is a lot of potential out there, but then there's also the risk if this is not taken care of as well. Because we are an entity, we have very limited resources. Our county budget is about $44 million every year, and that may sound like a lot of money, but for an area this big, we struggle with that budget just to get essential services in place for our residents, for our constituents. That means deputies on the streets. That means a functioning health department, a functioning highway department. And so the problem is, issue number one out there, we need to make sure that there is no immediate risk for a catastrophe. That would be unacceptable. But long term, the county does not have the resources, the local taxpayer does not have the resources to be on the hook for this problem. So whether this issue is going to come to a head 5 days from now or whether it's going to come to a head 100 years from now really makes little difference, because the county taxpayer does not have the resources. We do not have the ability to locally deal with this issue, and that is why I was very happy to hear Mr. Cobb talk about in the EPA's final decision, there has to be the P word, perpetuity, because that is so critically important to the county taxpayer. We cannot afford, as a county, this would bankrupt us if we were to take on this issue as a county. So on one hand, you've got the outstanding opportunity, economic and otherwise, that the river presents. You know, I've got friends who have come halfway across the state to ride their horses on the trails out there. I've got a friend who's an avid mountain biker who told me that these are some of the best rated mountain bike trails at Kickapoo in the entire state. So it's already bringing in a lot of economic activity, and that potential is high. But then we also have the risk. You've got that dichotomy of a great opportunity but a great risk. But it's more than that. It's not just an opportunity and a risk. The river means so much more to those of us who live here in the county. So if you'll indulge me a little bit, I'll tell you what it means to me. I grew up on the river, and I can remember when I was a kid, several things that I loved to do. One thing was I loved to fish. About the time I was in 8th grade, I had this teacher in 8th grade that I loved, and he shared my passion of fishing. And so I can remember he took me out to go fishing on the river for the first time at the Smalley Hole. It was right down the river from the Higginsville Bridge. And at that time, there was an old man that lived on the river, and he had goats. And he turned his goats loose and let them wander on the bank of the river. And so as kids, we always talked about the legend of the wild goats. And sure enough, you'd sit there on the bank of the river and fish, and the goats would be across the way. And there was this one old billy goat that had a really long beard. And if the wind came out of the right direction, boy, you could catch a whiff of him, and it was bad. One thing that I loved to do when I was a kid, it was the thing that mattered most to me, was I loved to spend time in the saddle. I was an avid horseback rider, and we were out there, me and my cousins, riding on the trails out at the Middle Fork every weekend. And we would leave my cousin's house, and we'd cross the road, and there was an access to the park right across the road from their driveway, but the gate was always shut. But we learned that if you rode up into the woods and kind of forged your own trail, we could get around that gate access. And I probably shouldn't be telling this on myself, because I think we were out there at times that we probably shouldn't have been. But we had a lot of great times riding on those trails out there. And my cousin had this one old plug horse named Parr, and he was the laziest thing in the world. And you'd be riding him for a while, and he'd get tired, and he'd just lay down and roll right where he was at. And you'd have to jump off of him, and he'd just lay there with the saddle on and everything until he decided to get back up. And so we were out there on a hot summer day riding one time, and I don't know, I must have drawn the short straw. I got Parr that day. And there was this place where we loved to cross the river. And it was a horse trail went across it. It was a ford. And, you know, the water was about to stir up high, and on a hot day, we'd splash each other and get in water fights and stuff. And we were riding out there, and we got about halfway across that river, and Parr decided he was going to lay down and roll. And so I didn't have any choice. I bailed off into the river. Parr, he laid down. He just laid right down in the river and soaked up, you know, got the saddle all wet. I was soaking wet. I was cussing and yelling and screaming, and I think my cousins, they about fell off their horses. They were laughing so hard. And but those were the kind of things, those were the memories that I had. And so the river, that's what it means to me. It's childhood memories. And it was about growing up and learning things. And I know I'm not the only person that had those experiences. I talked to a lot of people tonight that had the same experiences out there. And it means so much to all of us. And that's what it means to Vermilion County. And that's why it's so critically important that we make sure that we hold Dinah G's feet to the fire and we get some positive resolutions in this. So, thank you.